Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon for this first interview in the frame of the Excel Joint Undertaking Symposium 2021. We are going to use a slightly different format, using a series of specific interviews rather than in-person, unfortunately, symposium as we were used to do, or a PowerPoint presentation. I think we all have seen more than enough PowerPoints these days. So we go for a round of interviews, and we are more than pleased that for this kickoff of this round of interviews, we have with us Lucilla Sioli. She is the Director of Artificial Intelligence and Digital Industry at the European Commission DG Connect. Lucilla, welcome.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
It's our pleasure. We have been working together for some time under the Excel, and in the preparation now of this KDT. In some of the recent information communication of the Commission, it was all about the 2030 Digital Compass communication, yeah, which is, I think, pretty new for the audience. Can you a little elaborate on this, and what does it bring to our sector, the ECS semiconductor sector?
The Digital Decade communication was published a few weeks ago, and it identifies the compass for digital. Where do we want to be in 10 years' time? And this is important because, of course, the pandemic has shown how useful digital is, and somehow it has accelerated the uptake of digital. But then where do we go from here now that we all learn to work and study from home? And so we have provided some specific targets, and these targets cut across 4 different areas that, in our opinion, are the pillars of the digital transformation, and which include the digital transformation of business, so how many small, medium enterprises will be using certain technologies. We look at the transformation of the public administration, but also the skills required by digital society, and then the digital infrastructure. And in the digital infrastructure, in particular, we focus on microelectronics, because for us, computing power as well as the cloud are very much the basis of our digital infrastructure. Now, in microelectronics, we are setting a target which is found by many to be very ambitious, because basically we say that we would like the European semiconductor industry or microelectronics industry to have a market share of 20% by the end of the next decade, which means essentially doubling the current market share. And it may seem ambitious, but what is important is very much the meaning that underlines this particular target, because what we would like to see is for the microelectronics industry to strengthen itself and to become maybe less dependent and stronger in the development and in the design of components, as well as in their manufacturing. And so we think that the European industry has got these capabilities and needs to really think how these capabilities can translate themselves into a stronger industry. This is the right moment, because it's a moment in which we have funds from the Recovery and Resilience Fund, and therefore a lot of investment in the member states. We start a new multi-annual financial framework, so we have a new research program, a new joint undertaking. We will have a new project of common European interest, and an industrial alliance also in microelectronics. So we have a lot of instruments at our disposal right now that probably we didn't have before. And so we really hope that the European industry, together with the public sector, with the European Commission, organizes itself and to become stronger, also thanks to the use of the new instruments.
Thank you, Lucilla. And allow me to go a little further in that same thinking, same direction. We have heard from different sides that that there is a shortage on semiconductor, on chip supplies at this moment in time. Consequently, some of the automotive OEMs have to slow down or even stop some of the productions. They just were not not enough chips. Obviously, the reasons why this is happening, I mean, you can have a debate on that as well. There is something to do with how to say the pandemic, yeah, the adjustment of volume, the greening technology, the international, call it trade frictions. But what do we learn out of this sudden shortage, and how could a partnership like Excel or KDT help on this?
I think that the shortage is due mostly to the volume adjustment that you mentioned, meaning that after COVID, there was a sudden resurgence in demand for these automotive chips. But because of COVID, the manufacturers were very busy in producing chips for computers and iPads and mobile phones and what have you. So there was a misalignment of the needs. And what this really shows is the fact that continues, that the manufacturing activity in the world is probably too concentrated at the moment. At the moment, we can, there are fantastic fabs in countries like Taiwan, South Korea. Some of these fabs will be also in the United States. And we do have some production capabilities, of course, also in the European Union, although not for the very advanced nodes and the very advanced requirements. And I think that what this shows is that the concentration is probably excessive, and that we have to be able to diversify also our manufacturing capabilities. I think in the European Union, we are reflecting deeply on the possibility of strengthening our manufacturing capabilities for automotive, but not only for automotive. There are new markets and new needs that are coming up. There is a world of artificial intelligence that is bringing a lot of new demand, and therefore I think that our policies should really align to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore, because of course a delay in the production of chips means a delay in the marketing, in this case of the cars, and I'm hearing already that there are shortages for the home appliances. And so it's very timely that we reflect on the distribution of the manufacturing capabilities around the world.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think the whole situation with the COVID and the COVID lockdown has been a real life stress test for many different dimensions in society and in manufacturing, and has shown not only in the medical industry the shortage of the masks, but also in many others, that maybe we are slightly too dependent on import and not sufficient self-reliant, and that's indeed what we may need to reflect on. And of course, we hope that a partnership or a platform or a community like we have built under Excel and continue under KDT can only help to reinforce that industrial tissue. But going further in the same direction on industry and industrialization, the digital transformation is something which has within the industry a large expectation. There is a lot expected from this digital transformation. What do you believe is going to be the impact on the digital transformation in the industry towards market share, towards employment? What do you think is going to be the benefit?
Well, the digital transformation hopefully will accompany the recovery. I have to say that companies have been spending in digital during COVID, but mostly to organize themselves to work from home. And now we really need investments in production capabilities, which will make, of course, companies more efficient. And what I expect in the future is a convergence of the new technologies. I mean, we are talking about microelectronics. And if you think about it, there will be a real transformation, for example, in manufacturing. We are going to have through the sensors that with the way whose development we also support in our microelectronics activities, the sensors will be collecting increasing amounts of data This data will be processed at the edge. So there will be edge computing, and there will be their new needs also for chips for edge computing in microelectronics. Artificial intelligence at the edge will be able to instruct robots to work in real time. And the robots also carry sensors and chips. And so I think that there will be such a convergence of technologies and objects, and all these smart objects and devices are all enabled by chips and components, that of course the digital transformation of industry is going to have an important impact on our microelectronics industry as well. Now, what does it mean for the economy? I think that I hope that companies will make these investments, will become more efficient. Does that mean less employment? By definition, one would say yes. If you become more efficient, employment reduces. On the other hand, more efficiency is also accompanied by new markets, and you know, a stronger position in the market of the more efficient companies, and therefore employment does not necessarily need to reduce. However, if the digital transformation is strong, certainly there will be an impact on employment, but I would say there is more on the qualifications and on the skills that the workforce should have.
Mm-hmm. Yes, true. And then obviously for this digital transformation and the need for the ECS, the electronic components and systems, we do not want to be too dependent on import from other regions. We want to have that capability of producing all these technologies largely here internally in the European market. And
sorry, can I comment on this, on the fact that I just want to say that we don't really want to limit our imports. It's not that we want to close ourselves and we want to produce everything by ourselves. But what is very important for us is that we deal with technology that first of all respect our values. And so Green Deal objectives, energy efficiency, security, safety, data protection. These are all values we want our technology to respect. And so we want to be able to choose and to make sure that we can have access to technology that respects our values. And certainly one way of doing that is that we have to be able to develop it.
Clear, yeah, to control what's inside. That's obviously very important. You touched upon to the availability of, skilled workforce, and especially in our sector, and this is maybe a wrapping up question. The key element is always you need the people to do the job, yeah, and the ECS is not the most simplest job. Looking backwards and forwards to the program we have, Excel and KDT, how can we stimulate even more attracting highly qualified, experienced people, engineers? And second also is, how do we get the balance right, the gender balance between men and women? Because our industry traditionally has been a little more biased to one side than the other. So what can we do more than what we are doing now?
Yeah, I think that the two things are connected. First of all, in Europe, in general, we don't have enough people, enough students studying science, engineering, which is really the kind of faculties that you need to have access to the microelectronics world, but also to ICT, to digital in general. So we have a shortage in digital in general, and therefore that's why we also have very specific targets in our digital decade from this point of view. So we need more people undertaking these studies, and certainly we need more girls undertaking these studies, because this is where really the shortage is. And once we have more people, including girls, undertaking these studies, then I think that to make the world of microelectronics more attractive, it would be useful if the companies in microelectronics organized internships with the universities, because I think that once the students get to see the working environment and how interesting the work can be, then it's easy for them to then, when they finish their studies, to go back to that kind of environment. So we have in the European Commission a new activity, a Pact for Skills, where companies are committing to undertake action exactly to attract more students and more people to work in the microelectronics industry. And I really hope that activities in terms of internships, in terms of summer schools by the companies themselves, and more collaboration with industry can really help to find the balance. And then, you know, for the female participation, I really hope that there is a change of mind in society and that girls that are perfectly capable to undertake this kind of scientific studies should do so. And I hope to see them in bigger numbers in the future.
How could we, with the program we have with the Excel or KDT, help on that? I fully agree with what you said. Is there anything we can do practically to stimulate the projects we are funding to have more students, internships, women involved in the projects? Is there anything you can advise? For instance, could we put a KPI up front saying that let's start measuring how many women, how many internships we have in the project?
A KPI is certainly useful, but also I think other measures could concern the fact that there is more collaboration between the industry and the universities, and therefore that the projects see maybe a greater participation of PhD students, but not only of PhD students, also of other students, so that they get exposed to the world of microelectronics. And then I think that in some of the projects, one could also foresee specifically some activities that are directed to the dissemination of, or to the communication in terms of a rising awareness about the possibilities of interest in working positions in the microelectronics area.
Yeah, you were referring, allow me to go further on this point, because I have 4 kids, 4 daughters, which I want to stimulate to go into the STEM. You were referring to universities and PhDs. Isn't that too late to start making kids interested in science and technology? Shouldn't we start at high school level, even before, to show them what technology is all about?
But certainly at secondary level, but I would go even further and I would say even earlier. I mean, we have programs like Code Week, where we ask, for example, even primary schools to introduce computational thinking. This is the basis for programming. And the earlier one learns to program, then believe me, a whole world opens to that person. And I'm still surprised that programming is not yet taught in most of our high schools, because the way we study physics and we study the solar environment, because this is the world we live in, well, our kids mostly live with computers and mobile phones, and so learning to know how it works should really be the basis of studies already in high school, in my opinion, and as I said, if possible, even earlier. And the earlier we introduce this kind of studies, the more the girls will participate.
Lucilla, here at the end of the interview, maybe is there any last statement you want to make, maybe in relation to the future partnership?
I think that, you know, this is the Excel Symposium, and we have to be very proud of the way Excel has worked and what it has delivered in terms of technology advances. When we talk about advanced fabs nowadays, we are also talking about equipment capabilities that have been developed in the European Union, including with Excel. And we also think about low power technology and a lot of research that has gone into the industrial strengths of the European companies. And now we look forward to the JU Key Digital Technologies. It has a significant increase in terms of budget compared to Excel, at least on the basis of the Commission proposal, because this proposal is still under discussion in the Council of the European Union with the member states. So on the basis of our proposal, we should be able to mobilize all together for the next 7 years about 7 billion euros in this area through the joint undertaking. And the scope will be a little bit larger because we want to put more emphasis on software, because we do realize that software and electronics work very much together, and bring in also photonics, for example, silicon photonics is a very important area of development that is very much complementary to the microelectronics area. So there are new activities we want to bring in with a new budget, and we are really counting on the participation of member states and the industry, including small, medium enterprises, because we have big, greater objectives also for small, medium enterprises. And so I really look forward to working in this new configuration and with the great participation of our European stakeholders.
Thank you for these encouraging words. And yes, we're looking forward to see the kickoff, the launch, the start of the new partnership, Key Digital Technologies. Lucilla, thank you very much for being with us this first interview. Very much appreciated the continuous effort you make for the Excel and obviously also for the KDT joint undertaking, and looking forward to keep on working with you and your colleagues in this very constructive and positive way. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks to you and for your work too. Thank you.
Thank you.